here we are after the hurricane. There's Charles. And why do we have this gigantic sunshine and a handheld sun?
We have currently no power.
Right, there's no power. We're at the hotel here in Biloxi. After you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's like The Shining down there.
It is, isn't it?
Right. So here we are. This is the way it goes. This is you right here.
So I was at 207 yesterday, and now I'm at 206.
After Zeta. Somebody's smoking pot. I hear you. I can smell it.
I know, right?
Unbelievable. So anyway, I'm gonna let him in his room, and then we're gonna get some sleep.
The Gulf of Mexico is running 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit hotter or more compared to the 20th century average. So here we have our ocean heat content, and not only that ocean heat content warmer, the depth of that heat going down subsurface is even greater.
That's unheard of. To be one of the latest major hurricanes to make landfall in the United States, and it's making landfall in Louisiana. Look, we understand South Florida in October, but we're talking almost the western Gulf of Mexico. That's unheard of for the end of October.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, we're literally like less than a week to Halloween. I'm like, seriously?
So here we are. We're back on the Gulf Coast again. We've already been through Laura. We had Sally. We had Delta, other smaller tropical storms. And now we're down here again. It's almost Halloween. The 2020 season just kept on going, and now it's time to get to work once again. Back in Gulfport, Mississippi, over at the Erie Pier. Just set up a live camera, working with Charles and Greg. Nice day out here in late October. Show what it looks like up here. There it is.
Okay, that's better. I don't think that'll take up too much. We think the eye will probably move a little bit to the west.
All right.
But if it shifts a little east, this could actually get the eye of what will be Hurricane Zeta. But even if not, we're going to get pretty low pressures with this. Kestrel is a fantastic weather instrument. It's something we've used for years.
One thing that did stand out for the Zeta mission was all the help that I had. That really made things a lot easier, setting up all these camera systems along the Mississippi coast. And I needed that help. We had to get ready for this very fast-moving hurricane that was headed our way. So what do we got there? What in the world, Greg? What
this is
that,
the WRF satellite infrared.
Right,
okay?
just that hurricane weather research forecast model.
Exactly, and it's showing what it sees as the landfall of Zeta. And
Turn it towards this. Let's take a look at that.
That looks like a really healthy hurricane.
Wow, so it's a simulated computer model image, basically.
Yeah, and look at that. You can see a clear eye,
right.
Strong convection. I mean, look at that eye wall coming in. What it's going to really come down to, does it close off tonight? Does the diurnal effects give it a little extra oomph, which it usually does? And if it closes off, even when it does get affected by the shear tomorrow and gets to the colder, more shallow, cooler water, it will affect it some, of course, but that shell will almost protect it.
There it is, 7 miles an hour, 9, 8, 8. We had put in quite a long day setting up all the equipment along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, from Biloxi to Gulfport, past Christian, Long Beach, eventually ending up in Bay St. Louis and Waveland. Now it's time to get that one weather station that I brought with us. We got to get that up and running. The video data is certainly very important and very impactful, but I like to get that wind and pressure data if at all possible. So we worked in probably till 2 a.m. or so, finally getting back to the hotel in Gulfport and calling it a night. So I know that I want to take the weather station and the camera that we set up a couple miles east of here at the I-10 interchange. Did you see it when you drove here? Yeah. I want to grab that and put it at Waveland at I-10 and 603. So we're up to the day of landfall, and there's quite a lot going on still, a few adjustments that we need to make. I wanted to move the weather station from where it was in Gulfport along the interchange there over towards Waveland along Highway 603 and the I-10 interchange. I just felt like this was going to be closer to whatever was left over of the core of Zeta after it made landfall in Louisiana. All right, so it's a little bit after 2 o'clock Eastern time, and Zeta is now a Category 2. Winds are 100 miles per hour. And so what does that mean? Well, Category 2, the impacts are greater now. The storm surge will be higher, the wind impacts will be higher, and so forth. So there is a chance too that it's not over, the strengthening, and I say, an outside chance here that it could become a Category 3. Let's hope that does not happen. That would be really, really remarkable. Unfortunately, and right on par with pretty much what some of the other hurricanes were doing during the 2020 season, Zeta did quickly strengthen, and it briefly became a Category 3 before making landfall in Louisiana, but it was also moving very quickly now, and this meant that there would be substantial inland impacts, not only for Louisiana, but also for Mississippi and Alabama.
What's lost in Zeta is the inland wind impact across inland southeast Mississippi and inland southwest Alabama. Very significant inland wind impacts that did tremendous damage to those communities.
And for New Orleans, luckily the center went right over them, but to the east, there was plenty of spots that had pretty high storm surge. I know even Bay St. Louis and Waveland, they had wind gusts well over 100. Even in my house in Gulfport, we had a wind gust at the airport, I believe, at 98 miles an hour.
So look at these vehicles, people up here in the Bay Waveland area parking up on 603. These are folks that are leaving where the surge is going to be coming in, and this may not be high enough. Look at that. Zeta now trying to make a run for being a Category 3. Truly remarkable what we are seeing. So I had something new that I wanted to try during the Zeta mission, and that was a 360 cam, one of those VR cameras from GoPro, to just maybe show storm surge like we had never seen it before. Let's just see if it works. We did some testing with it earlier in the season, and I thought, let's give it a shot. Let's try to get this as close to the water as we can and just see what happens. Now, the deal is, it only runs for about 90 minutes or so. We didn't have a way to put it inside of a case or anything and give it a big old battery where it would run for 20 or 30 hours like we did, for example, during Hurricane Michael or some of our other successes where the GoPro is going to run a long time. That's not the case this time around. This camera, this 360 cam, again, it's only going to run for about an hour, hour and a half. It's not in a traditional case where we can just strap it up on a pole. And I just knew we had to get it close to the water, turn the thing on, and we just figured, hey, whatever happens, happens. I want it exposed, so we're trying to sort of MacGyver this together. So we got really lucky with this camera. We were trying to set it up along the road there in Waveland, right along the beach road. And this guy comes by in his truck and says, hey, what you guys doing? And we explained it to him. And he said, look, I'm the security manager over at the Silver Slipper. It was like a mile away or so. Why don't you bring it over here and I can keep an eye on it for you and everything. And a light bulb went off. I was like, hey, not only could you keep an eye on it, but you could actually turn the thing on for us. I explained to him the very short battery runtime that we have, and he said he's going to be staying right there at the hotel casino. So after explaining everything, showing him what to do, he agreed that I would send him a text. He would go turn it on, and hopefully it would work. So we got all that set up, all ready to go. Finally, we get to head over to Slidell and try to get into the eye of this hurricane.
I remember the messaging with Zeta was, get ready. This is going to be a storm that comes right over the heart of Metro New Orleans, so we're going to have probably one of the worst windstorms we've seen, definitely since Katrina, and that's how it played out.
cameras are now running perfectly from Biloxi to Waveland. This included the live camera systems, a couple of GoPros, and of course the brand new 360 cam. I had sent the text message to the security guy. He said it was all running as far as he knew, so we were all set. We were ready in Slidell. The eye wall was coming in after making landfall down there near Cocodrie, and it was time. We were going to finally be in the eye of yet another hurricane here in Louisiana.
So Charles, we're getting ready to get into the core of a solid hurricane. Slidell, Louisiana. There's Marcel.
Yes, sir.
What's up, Marcel?
Hey, Mark.
You see the power blinking there?
I saw it. I mean,
It's coming.
right behind me.
Right.
Oh my God. In order to get to Mississippi and Louisiana, I have to be driving 800 miles to get there. So it took me all day long to do it. I was driving the Ford Fusion sedan, chasing a Cat 3 hurricane in Louisiana.
Yeah, that canopy could tip over. You never know. We're going to try to get over here in this open area in the entrance to that Middledorf, or whatever it's called.
Much better.
Yep. All right, it's coming.
Let's go, guys. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Hurry up, hurry up. You're missing out.
So Zeta makes yet another landfall of a hurricane in Louisiana for the 2020 season. The eye comes right over New Orleans, providing people with just this spectacular sunset in the eye. Amazing video and pictures put on social media. Eventually it comes over us in Slidell, and honestly it wasn't really that bad. We were able to just kind of sit there in our vehicles and just watch everything. But as usual, it is the surge cams right there at the coast, especially in surge-prone coastal Mississippi, that really stole the show. So all of our camera systems were running as well as could be expected, and they were stunning. I mean, they really were. Watching the water come over them and the power flashes in the distance, it really was quite something, despite the fact that all of this was happening at night. But I think when all was said and done, the GoPro and the live cam that were set up in Bay St. Louis at the marina, those were the most interesting, because the way we had set them up, the surge came in, both the cameras went underwater. We saw one of the boats get torn loose and it eventually sank. But I think what was really just haunting and eerie was the GoPro camera getting submerged. And you could hear the straps getting pulled on, the water coming over the top of it. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. Now, obviously, this was not in real time. We had to go back and get it the next day, but as you can hear from the video that we recorded, it was just an extraordinary event, even though it happened at night, proving, I think, that sometimes audio is all you need to really tell the story. So let's imagine for a moment that you are that camera box. The surge has come up, it's violent, the waves are crashing over, you're just trying to hold on and you're struggling to survive. Now certainly all of this would have been absolutely remarkable had we been able to see it during daylight. But I think what we captured here, especially with the audio, really underscoring how harsh a storm surge can be. This reality of this is what storm surge can do, especially when it gets you. And so I'm hoping that people will ask themselves, you know, is it worth the gamble for me to stay and then this happens to me? Then things, as they sometimes do, just got really weird. It's probably after midnight now, and Zeta's come and gone. The water levels have come back down. People are out there walking around. I'm not sure if they're checking on boats or if they're up to no good. But they did come across the camera box, a couple of these people. And for the most part, they basically left it alone. Now certainly, if there's one thing that I could change about the Zeta mission, that would be that it would happen during daylight. I mean, nothing beats daylight, right? But as it was, all of the camera systems were stunning. I mean, they really were. Showing the water coming up like it did. Most of the cameras went underwater at some point, and you got to understand, these things were 6 and 7 feet above ground level. Even though they were close to the water, they were still elevated, and they still managed to get submerged. So all in all, I think it was a remarkable mission, really underscoring once again how dangerous the storm surge can be and how vulnerable the Mississippi coast is to that surge. Alright, here we are after the hurricane. There's Charles. And why do we have this gigantic sunshine and a handheld sun?
We have currently no power.
Right, there's no power. We're at the hotel here in Biloxi after you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's like The Shining down there. One thing I can say after doing this for so many years is that when these missions wrap up, the hurricane has come and gone, and Zeta was pretty quick. We're tired. You know, we've been out doing this for a couple days straight. The adrenaline's going, and the hurricane comes and goes, and we're zonked. We're ready to get some sleep. So we know, even after we do get a good night's sleep, we got to get out the next day. We got to survey the damage, round up the equipment, and we were all very interested to see what that 360 cam might have captured there in Waveland. Unbelievable. So anyway, I'm gonna let him in his room, and then we're gonna get some sleep. So here we are the morning after, going over to pick up the equipment that we put out to measure everything. We talked to the harbor master, and he's really interested in it. Said it could help with FEMA. Wow, look at that boat just completely jacked up over there.
Yeah.
Get a shot of that. Dang. So is this us? Yeah.
And that's why we put it on the cleat, Charles. Well, not quite a cleat, but whatever.
That GoPro cam once again proved that it can take a beating. The waves and the storm surge, you know, just remarkable. Unfortunately, though, there was property damage. You know, one of the boats that was in the shot of the live cam especially, it did sink, as well as others in the marina. There was damage to the pier. I mean, just another example of storm surge and dealing with hurricanes along the Mississippi coast.
Oh, well, they got it blocked off. We're gonna have to do a leapfrog, it looks like.
Yeah, what blocked off here?
Yeah.
Now, the day after a hurricane can be quite interesting. There's all kinds of people out and about. Most of them are just sightseeing. They want to see what happened. You know, you can understand that. Some people are trying to go check on property, and others, like us, we're trying to get out there and pick up our equipment. Now, look, I want to make it very clear. We are not special. There's no magic pass that I have. If a road is closed, either from nature or from the local authorities, we don't go there. It's just the way it goes. But in the case of Mississippi, the day after Zeta, it really wasn't too bad. There were just areas of sand on the road, a few boats that needed to be moved. And our main goal was just collect those cameras. And then, of course, we really wanted to get back to Waveland, to the Silver Slipper, and see what that 360 cam captured.
There's the 360 cam. Hopefully it recorded for the full hour that we set it up for. Really going to be interesting. Hopefully, you know, what do you think, Charles? What's the odds? We're at a casino. What's the odds?
I know.
You know, I must say we're at about 90% chance that it worked.
Oh yeah, it worked. It certainly did. The security manager did such a great job turning that camera on right when we needed him to. It ran for the full hour, hour and a half, and really gave us a look at storm surge like we've never seen it before. I mean, think about it. It is like you are really there along that pole watching the storm surge. Now, what makes this different from our regular GoPros that we've been putting up is the fact that this truly is immersive 360-degree up, down, left, right video. Now, the way that I'm able to show it to you in this 16:9 format in this documentary is by simply panning around in post-production of the shot, like a camera person was standing there, but that's not what it was at all. It is all captured by this one camera system. Truly immersive video of storm surge. Nobody's ever captured anything like this before. Now we just have to figure out what are we going to do with this, and we will certainly work on that as we go forward.
And a whole bottle of Jaeger.
Really?
That is a whole bottle of Jaeger.
Oh, wow.
What do you want? There's another one right there.
No way. You got all the liquor you could ever want, man.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Where'd this come from?
How's it going, dude?
What's happening, Marcel?
How you doing? What's up, bro? Is that better?
Yeah. Let's collect that and find somebody in charge and give it to them.
And that is exactly what we did. Now, certainly, I won't argue that 2020 gave us all plenty of reasons to start drinking, but no, we collected these bottles. There were several of them out there next to the Hard Rock. We took them over to the cleaning crew and said, here, you guys can have these, do with them as you please, not my call. But we're done. You know, there's another hurricane scratched off the list of making landfall there in 2020. We're close to November now. We got the election coming up, and we're just hoping that that goes smoothly. There's no problems with the election and no more hurricanes. If we can just finish the hurricane season with Zeta, that would be great. But considering that it is 2020, I mean, who knows, right? Who knows?